the news hour, coming to you live from the studios of Hitzafrik Radio and TV. Stay tuned. Download the tuning app onto your mobile phone today and catch up on all the latest news from Hitzafrik Radio, broadcasting live on modern Ghana and our website www.hitzafrikradio.org. Hitzafrik Radio News Hour live.
The time is exactly 19 hours in the studios of Hitzafrik Radio. We are streaming live here in Ghana, www.modernghana.com, on the TuneIn app at Hitzafrik Radio. We are transmitting live on Facebook and YouTube at Hitzafrik Radio. My name is Abina Ahunie. Stay tuned as I bring you the news headline. GMT COP fights directive for banks to demand tertiary schools license before transaction. I wept and questioned God, says an MP. Give us clear laws concerning LGBTQI. Stop copying me and concentrate on your marriage. These and many other stories I come your way this evening. Stay tuned as I bring you the news in details. GMT COP fight directive for banks to demand tertiary schools license before transactions. The Ghana National Council of Private Schools is demanding that the National Schools Inspectorate Authority, NASIA, withdraws a directive asking all banks not to transact business with any tertiary educational institution without proof of a license to operate. The executive director for the council, Enoch Jetua, said some member schools now had their funds locked up. In a Citizen News interview, he described the directive by NASIA as misconceived. We want NASIA to explain to us and convince us why they did that and then withdraw that letter immediately because it is an impediment to the private schools. As we speak now, some of the members' funds have been locked up and the banks are saying they should bring up NASIA certification, Mr. Jetua added. NASIA, formerly the National Inspectorate Board, in a letter signed by the Executive Director, Hagar Hilda Ampedu, has cautioned all public and private tertiary schools to seek authorization from it before operating in Ghana. On another level, he noted that the schools will even need access to banks to pay for their licenses. On what medium will the schools be able to pay that amount, even if they have to pay that? Mr. Jetua asked. We understand that all NASIA money is supposed to be channeled into a designated account. NASIA is an agency of the Ministry of Education mandated by Parliament to provide an independent external evaluation of the quality and standards in basic and second cycle institutes in the country in a period basis. In 2008, the Education Act 778 established the authority with three main responsibilities: school inspection, school evaluation, and enforce standards. Moving on to other stories, I wept, questioned God over my defeat, former MP. Former Member of Parliament of Tema East constituency, Daniel Kote Titus Glover, has said he is still in pain by his defeat in the 2020 parliamentary elections. According to the former Deputy Trades Minister, even though he takes his defeat in good faith, internal power play gave room for his defeat. Speaking on Adam FM's morning show, Jaso Nsem Monday, the former MP said he wept bitterly after his defeat and even questioned God on why he lost because he didn't expect that. Yes, my defeat came as a shock because people never believed I could lose the Tema East seat. I was really hurt and cried. I even asked God why I lost because I knew I would win the seat, but trust me, within days, the pain I had in me just vanished, he narrated. Even though most MPs will abandon their initiated projects in the constituency after losing their seats, Titus Glover said he was currently continuing road projects he initiated before his defeat. I am continuing all projects I initiated. The roads to Tema East constituency, we have done almost 80% from the Tema to Tema New Town, he said. Mr. Glover said he considers his business in Parliament as unfinished, hence, he will work hard to correct the wrongs during the next election in order to return. The former Deputy Minister of Transport lost the seat to former Metropolitan Chief Executive MCE of Tema, Isaac Ashai Odamte, who contested the seat for the first time. He managed to poll 31,956 of the votes, whereas Mr. Odamte, the National Democratic Congress NDC candidate, polled 41,692. The Tema East seat, which happens to be the safe seat for the NPP, was once won by the NDC in 2000 polls. Moving on to other stories, give us clear laws despite an LGBTQI. Apostle Professor Opoku Onyina, chairman of the Governor's Council of National Coalition for Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values, is calling for clear legislation against lesbians, gays, bisexuals, transgender, queer, and intersex rights without any ambiguities. Although Prof. Onyina expressed gratitude to President Akufo-Addo for declaring that his administration would not allow the legalization of same-sex marriages in Ghana, he wants to clearly spell out law that frowns upon the act. Apostle Prof. Onyina made a call on the ecumenical prayer rally on the theme, Homosexuality, a Detestable Sin to God. In the Holy Book of Leviticus chapter 20 verse 13, Romans chapter 1 verse 18 to 32, 1 Corinthians chapter 6 verse 9 to 11, on Sunday evening, March 21st, 2021, where the Christian community, including some Muslim clerics, converged at the Bema Camp Worship Center auditorium of the Church of Pentecost to seek divine intervention against the activities of the LGBTQI movement in the country. The prayer rally was organized by the Christian Council of Ghana, CCG, the Ghana Pentecostal and Charismatic Council, JPCG, Ghana Catholic Bishops Conference, JBC, Ghana Charismatic Bishops Conference, JCBC, National Association of Charismatic and Christian Churches, NACCC, and all other churches and Christian organizations in Ghana. In collaboration with the National Coalition for Proper Human Sexual Rights and Family Values. Apostle Prof. Onyina said that the coalition views that LGBTQI movement in Ghana as upfront to our long-cherished religious values, customs, and traditions, as well as the laws of the land. The actions of the LGBTQI is also completely aberrant with the laws and principles of the Almighty God, especially concerning his plan of creation and the sanctity of marriage between man and woman. He expressed the coalition appreciation to President Nana Addo Akufo-Addo for declaring that his administration will never allow the legalization of same-sex marriages in the country. In other stories, smuggling syndicates illegal shipping out tons of gold. Joint News investigation have uncovered how a gold smuggling syndicate illegally exports gold through the country's land, airports, and seaports. This illegal business is aided by security operative, politically connected individuals and shipping agents. In 2018, President Akufo-Addo revealed how $5 billion was unaccounted for in gold exports from Ghana to the United Arab Emirates. In our latest Hotline documentary, Busted Gold Smugglers, the Joint News investigative team takes a look at how the cartel outwitted and evade tax. It was not a mistake. Ghana was once called the Gold Coast. Dr. Anthony Ubin, the former CEO of Minerals Commission, who has worked in the mining sector for over 3 decades, said, "The gold business is a very difficult one. It is even more difficult and life-threatening if it is illegal mining. One of the processes of discovering that precious metal is easy." Meet Francis Swayze, who is in his mid-40s. He is from the Ashanti regional town of Konongo. He has been in the Galamsey business since 1992, when he was only 17 years. Mr. Swayze speaks about what pushed him into mining at that early age. For the past 29 years, Francis and his friends have been risking their lives in deep pits, all in their quest to find gold. Though it's tiring and dangerous, the high sums make them within days suit to their paint. Francis is not alone in this. In the central region, there are some other young miners who are happy they stopped school and ventured into mining at an early age. Zakari Tihiru from Dunkwao is one of them. He said he makes almost 40,000 Ghana cedis a week. Now back to Francis, he does not have to travel far looking for potential buyers. In Konongo and its surrounding communities, there are buyers always ready to buy from his team. But this precious metal is difficult to sell as it is difficult to mine. Gold buyers are scattered across the country. Abu attributes the success of his illegal gold business to a strong, well-managed network he has established in the Burkina Faso and Ivory Coast. The Precious Minerals Marketing Company is mandated to oversee the export of gold from the small-scale mining sector, and the law requires at least 80% of foreign currency and from exports to be repatriated into the country. Moving on to other African countries, in Congo. Congolese opposed leader dies of COVID-19 day after election. The Republic of Congo's main opposition candidate, Gay Bryce Parfait Kalelas, died of COVID-19 as he was being transferred from France for treatment. His campaign director said on Monday, a day after the country's presidential election. The 60-year-old died in the medical aircraft which came to get him from the Brazzaville on Sunday afternoon, said Christian Sir Rodrigo Mayanda. The main rival of the president, Denis Sassou Nguesso, tested positive for coronavirus on Friday and spent election day in hospital. In his last words to voters, he said in a video, "My dear compatriots, I am in trouble. I am fighting death, but nevertheless, I ask you to stand up. Go and vote for change. I will not have fought for nothing. Fight for it. I will not have fought for nothing." Mayanda told AFP that Kolelas was in the lead of many localities, adding that we will continue to count the ballot. Kolelas was unable to hold his last campaign meeting in Brazzaville, the Congolese capital, Politicum. A historic opponent, Kolelas emerged this year as the only real rival of President Sassou Nguesso, 77. He was the runner-up in 2016 presidential election. After 36 years in power, the president did not hide his desire to be re-elected in the first round of polls Sunday. Election results are expected in several days' time. Moving on to other stories, Iceland volcano eruption on Lucas flock to see Mars Fagradalsvakar. Thousands have flocked up to a volcano in Iceland, which erupted near the capital, Reykjavik. Lava started to burst through a crack on Mount Fagradalsvakar on Friday evening, and the first eruption of its kind in more than 800 years. The site was initially blocked off, but from Saturday afternoon, people were allowed to make the trek. It's absolutely breathtaking. Alba Kari Johannesson, a 21-year-old engineer, told the AFP news agency it smells pretty bad. For me, what was surprising was the colors of the orange, much deeper than what one would expect, he added. Islanders have been bracing themselves for an eruption for several weeks after the island nation recorded more than 50,000 recent earthquakes. Around 300,000 cubic meters, 10.5 million cubic feet of lava have poured out, experts say, but the eruption is deemed to be relatively small and controlled. By Monday, the site was blocked again due to high levels of gas pollution. Moving on to other stories, Tunisia launches country's first satellite. It is a small step for aerospace, but a big step for Tunisia as it launches the first satellite manufactured locally. The satellite, called Challenge 1, is intended for the internet connectivity, was launched into space on Monday. Tunisia is the first country in the Maghreb to manufacture its own satellite and that sits on the African continent. The small satellites will be launched by the Russian Soyuz spacecraft by Baikonur, Kazakhstan. Tunisia says it hopes to launch 20 more in the next 3 years. The African space market is now worth over $7 billion annually, according to the website Space in Africa, which reports that it is likely to grow over 40% in the next 5 years. In other stories, Niger. At least 40 killed in fresh attack in Niger near Mali border. Armed men have killed at least 40 people in raids on villages near Niger's border with Mali, an area that have seen increasingly deadly attacks by armed groups with links to the Islamic State and Al-Qaeda. The attacks occurred on Sunday in 3 villages in the Tahua region, abutting the Tilaberi region in the so-called tri-border area, a flashpoint zone where the frontiers of Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali converge. Armed men arrived on motorbikes and shot at everything which moved. They attacked into Zayin, Bakuraite, and Weston and surrounding areas on Sunday, a local official said. The insurgencies in West African Sahel has killed hundreds and nearly 500,000 people have fled their homes. On March 15th, 66 people were killed in the Tilaberi region, which, when suspected jihadists attacked a bad current shoppers from the market town of Banibangau and then raided the village of Dari Day, killing inhabitants and touching grain stores. On January 2nd, 100 people were killed in attacks on 2 villages in the Magaise district of Tiliber. The massacre, one of the worst in Nigeria's history, occurred between 2 rounds of the country's presidential election. The killings underscore the massive security challenges facing Nigeria's president, Mohamed Bazoum, who was elected in February. A 5,000-strong French counter-terrorism offensive targets the militants, including some people in a group aligned with the Islamic State known as the ISWAP, an offshoot of Boko Haram. The Nigerian government did not immediately confirm the latest attack. Here lies the end of the local story. Stay tuned as I fetch you the foreign stories. You're so logged on to Hitzafrik Radio. We are streaming live on Facebook and YouTube at Hitzafrik Radio. You can as well follow us on all our social media handles at Hitzafrik Radio. Don't forget to get more news and entertainment. Visit our website on www.hitzafrikradio.org. Now let's do some foreign stories. In France on trial for snooping on staff and customers. The French subsidiary of IKEA will go on trial on Monday over allegations that it snooped on employees and customers by using private detectives and police officers. IKEA France will be tried as a corporate entity alongside several of its former executives. Prosecutors say IKEA France set up a spying system across its operations. The 15 people in the dock include top executives, such as former CEO Stefan Van Noverberg and former store managers. 4 police officers are also on trial for handing over confidential information. IKEA has already fired 4 executives over the scandal and put in place a new code of conduct. However, the company still faces a fine of up to £3.75 million, which is worth $4.5 million. The allegations first came to light in 2012 after the IKEA insider leaked emails between the company and the security company to the satirical newspaper Likenard and Shane. The email suggested that the firm was seeking access to records about its staff and customers from a police database holding millions of names and the personal information of criminals, victims, and even witnesses. 2 unions filed complaints against IKEA, accusing the company of spying on hundreds of employees and customers. The court is investigating the period between 2009 and 2012, but prosecutors says practices in France dated nearly a decade earlier. Jean-François Paris, IKEA France's former director of risk management, is accused of sending lists of names to be investigated to private investors. The bill for these investigations could have been up to £600,000, according to the court documented seen by the AFP news agency. Mr. Paris has said his department was responsible for handling the payments for investigations. One staff member who used to be a model employee but has suddenly become a protester was investigated over concerns they could become a rigged eco-terrorism, according to emails sent by Mr. Paris. The charges against the defendants include illegal gathering of personal information, receiving illegally gathered personal information, and violating professional confidentiality. The charges carry prison terms of up to 10 years. In other stories, Australia floods. Rainfall set to peak as weather system collide. Media caption neighbors filmed one couple's home being carried along by flash floods in Taree, north of Sydney. Areas of Australia have seen their worst flooding in decades are bracing for more heavy rainfall, with the peak expected on Tuesday. The entire coast of New South Wales had been put on alert, with troops and hundreds of volunteers deployed. Roads and bridges have been cut off, cars and signs submerged, livestock marooned, and schools closed. PM Scott Morrison told MPs there was serious work still ahead, and weather officials said it is far from over. New South Wales NSW Premier Gladys Berejiklian said no death had yet been reported, a miracle given that what we have been through. The heaviest rainfall for the worst affected states of the NSW is expected overnight into Tuesday morning as 2 major weather systems collide. The southern coastal areas could be the worst hit this time. A tweet put out by the Australia's Bureau of Meteorology said an area as large as Alaska, stretching from the NSW coast back to the southern Northern Territory, was now being affected by weather warnings. Media caption BBC Weather's Chris Falkis explains why New South Wales have been hit with such heavy floods. In all, 10 million people were under warnings in every state and territory except Western Australia. A low-pressure weather system that has been inundating the NSW coast for days has now been met by another weather system inland that is moving east. The Bureau has forecast increased rainfall, strong winds, damaging surf, and abnormally high tides in the New South Wales on Tuesday. It may have been going for days, but unfortunately, the situation is far from over, the Bureau tweeted. An order requires people to seek shelter with family or friends, well away from flood-impacted areas, or in a special theater. The warning tells people to prepare for an evacuation order. There have been some 15,000 evacuations from the mid-north coast and a further 3,000 in Sydney, officials said. Areas around the Colo and Hawkesbury rivers are of particular concerns. Here lies the end of the foreign story. Stay tuned as I bring you the entertainment news for tonight. It is the news hour on Hitzafrik Radio. You're logged on to www.modernghana.com on the TuneIn app at Hitzafrik Radio. We are transmitting live right here in Ghana. Moving on to the entertainment news this evening. Stop copying me and concentrate on your marriage. Equiapin Polo advises Fela Makafui. Loudmouth and controversial actress Equiapin Polo has advised colleague actress and mother of one, Fela Makafui, to stop imitating her style of ongoing unclad and rather concentrate on her marriage. Speaking in an interview on Neat FM, Polo asked Fela Makafui to stop stooping so low in all the name of attention because she is now a mother and a wife. Even though she didn't taste the parties on which she will be running the race, she mentioned some important things she will be doing when she comes into power. Her campaign message, however, indicated that she was probably joking and was not serious. This is because she promised to legalize misery, which is weird and funny. Blogger reveals the reason Belamundi left GH1, accuses Nana Abba Anamwa and Bula Ray of pimping girls at the TV station. A notorious Snapchat blogger called Arrogant Prick has accused AZ broadcast journalist Nana Abba Anamwa and her boss Bula Ray of trying to use their former employee Belamundi in the pimping business, hence the reason she left. The blogger alleged that Bula Ray sleeps with any woman who seeks for employment at the EIB network, and after he has had his turn, Nana Abba Anamwa takes over and pimps her to top rich men in Ghana in exchange of money. He further accused GH1 of being the face of pimping business, and the likes of Sarah Amhir takes the number of the politicians she interviews for future business. Well, these are just mere allegations from a blogger who has decided to hide his face so they could all just be riled to get some attention. Kevin Hart gives daughter a brand new Mercedes SUV worth $85,000 for her 16th birthday. American actor and comedian Kevin Hart has surprised his first child with an expensive gift to mark her 16th birthday. Hart's daughter, Heaven, turned 16 earlier this month, and the actor and his ex-wife to roll through a sweet 16th party at his house over the weekend. In the picture you're seeing right now, the teenager has been led outside her mansion by her parents to meet the package of a brand new Mercedes-Benz GLA with the two giant red bows on it. In other stories, I don't regret doing fraud. Why so great? Confesses doing fraud. High Life singer Wisa Great has confessed to doing fraud some time back. Wisa, who broke through the music scene with his hit song Ekikimi, has let the cat out of the bag by admitting to his fraudulent activities back in the days. In an interview with Sammy K, the singer stated he has indeed got involved in fraud things, but it didn't involve juju or sakawa things. He said his was more of buying things online and he doesn't regret doing it. According to him, this happened back in SHS. He also said he won't say those doing it should stop it because it is a hassle. Here lies the end of our news for this evening. Stay tuned as I bring you a recap of tonight's stories. GNACOP fights directive for banks to demand pre-tertiary schools license before transaction. I wept and questioned God when I lost. Give us clear laws concerning LGBTQI. Stop copying me and concentrate on your marriage. These and many other stories I brought your way this evening. My name is Abna Ahme. You're still logged on to Hitzafrik Radio. Stay tuned for the sports news.